We are living through a turning point in healthcare, a moment when artificial intelligence is moving from the margins of medicine into classrooms, clinics, and daily decision-making. While chatbots may dominate today's headlines, they are only the latest milestone in a much longer history of AI that spans decades of breakthroughs. AI's story began in the 1950s. By the early 2000s, AI had advanced into expert-level image recognition. After that, the transformer architecture laid the foundation for modern chatbots. In November 2022, the launch of ChatGPT brought AI into the public spotlight. AI has more than 70 years of history, and specialized medical AI was being developed and validated long before chatbots. Frankly, it's frustrating to watch such a broad field of AI be reduced to chatbots alone. Public expectations are often shaped more by hype than by what these systems actually do. The challenge today is that many people now equate AI with chatbots, even though language models are just one branch of a much broader field with very different state-of-the-art systems across other applications. In reality, chatbots are optimized for language, providing context-aware, linguistically sophisticated interactions, while task-specific models remain the right choice for specialized medical and diagnostic tasks. Many of the headline-grabbing diagnostic scores for chatbots come from performance on text-based clinical vignettes rather than real-world pattern recognition or image interpretation, which are fundamentally different tasks. For example, task-specific AI in radiology has a history, with detection systems having been proposed and even used clinically for defined image analysis tasks long before today's generative AI conversation centered on chatbots. Unlike chatbots, which are primarily designed for language-based exchanges and routine information support rather than expert clinical replacement, these task-specific AI systems are built for a single, well-defined diagnostic task within a specific imaging modality. Therefore, especially in medicine, before healthcare educators even mention AI, they should clearly state whether they are discussing chatbots or task-specific medical AI, because without that distinction, audiences are easily misled into thinking that AI simply means chatbots. It's important to teach that task-specific medical AI works by processing data through learned filters that are optimized to detect specific signs of disease, producing outputs based directly on validated diagnostic features. The errors produced by task-specific medical AI can be analyzed systematically, and its performance is measured with clinically relevant metrics. By contrast, chatbots generate text that statistically resembles what an expert might say in a given scenario, rather than demonstrating genuine understanding of the underlying clinical reality. For example, if you describe a patient with cough and shortness of breath, a chatbot breaks the text into tokens and predicts the most statistically likely next words, in this case, pneumonia. So the diagnosis it generates is fundamentally a statistical prediction rather than genuine medical understanding. Chatbots can produce reports that look polished and perfectly formatted while still being entirely wrong, because their errors can emerge in unpredictable ways rather than following a consistent, easily measurable pattern. The key message is simple. Fluent, confident language may sound clinically convincing, but it should never be mistaken for true diagnostic competence. In psychology, this is closely related to the confidence heuristic, where people are more likely to believe information that is delivered clearly and confidently, even when it may be wrong. Chatbots are designed to sound confident, regardless of whether their output is accurate, which can lead people to trust misguided conclusions and weaken the natural link between confidence and correctness. To be fair, chatbots often produce correct answers because they have learned strong statistical patterns from many similar cases. For example, if a chatbot has been trained on numerous cases where symptoms like cough and shortness of breath are associated with pneumonia, it is likely to produce the correct response to a new prompt with those same symptoms, since they are recognized predictors of pneumonia. In this study, doctors were asked to diagnose hypothetical patients based on clinical vignettes, and 74% of their diagnoses were correct. When another group of doctors performed the same task while consulting chatbots, 76% of their diagnoses were correct. Interestingly, the chatbot responses themselves were correct 92% of the time, suggesting that physicians did not change their minds even when the chatbot provided a different answer. It is no surprise that studies like this generate clickbait headlines, because they compare human clinicians with chatbots on straightforward, text-based cases, which are exactly the kind of tasks where language models tend to perform best. But real patients do not present as neat, tidy, multiple-choice questions, which is why performance on simplified vignettes should not be mistaken for real-world clinical ability. In our latest study, we demonstrated the dangers of AI sycophancy by asking 5 different chatbots to diagnose a straightforward set of healthy and unhealthy brain CT images, and then evaluate each other's responses. Even when their diagnoses differed, the chatbots still tended to score one another highly. While being agreeable may be acceptable in everyday conversation, where the primary goal is to maintain harmony, it becomes dangerous in clinical diagnostics. In such high-stakes scenarios, being confidently agreeable to an incorrect answer can lead to real harm. Hence, healthcare professionals need to learn when a chatbot is appropriate and when a task-specific medical AI tool should be used instead. And even with task-specific AI, we still need to teach their limitations. A useful analogy is 2 medical students. One memorizes facts word for word, while the other learns the underlying pathophysiology that explains why findings point to a diagnosis. Just as the memorizing student may excel on familiar exams, yet struggle with real patients, fail to adapt, and risk harm, an overfit AI model may perform impressively during development, but decline sharply in deployment, fail to generalize, and produce diagnostic errors. The memorizing student is essentially an overfit model, because overfitting occurs when a system memorizes training examples instead of learning patterns that generalize. As a result, it performs well on familiar cases, but poorly on unseen or slightly different ones. Similarly, just as a student's learning progression can reveal whether they are memorizing or truly understanding, an AI model's learning dynamics, analyzed through learning curves, can indicate whether it has learned robust clinical patterns or simply memorized the data. Developers may advertise impressive accuracy, and if you do not examine the details closely, it is easy to get fooled. Accuracy alone can be misleading. Hypothetically, an AI trained on 100 patients, where 95 are healthy and 5 are unhealthy, could label every patient as healthy and still achieve 95% accuracy. Similarly, models can exploit algorithmic shortcuts, such as memorization, improper training, or data leakage, resulting in high accuracy that holds no value in real-world settings. For example, a developer might receive a spreadsheet of patient data, where the final column is the target the AI is supposed to predict based on the other columns. After training a task-specific model, the system may appear to achieve impressive accuracy, which might seem like a success. However, clinicians should have been involved throughout the development process. They would have recognized that one of the input columns, such as a medication field, serves as a cheat sheet for the diagnosis. Since new, unseen patients would not yet have that medication prescribed before screening, a model trained with that column included in the training data would be ineffective in real practice. So, what should we do? Chatbots rely on statistics, and task-specific models can be poorly trained, leading to artificially high accuracy that creates confusion. Regardless, we must always anticipate false positives and false negatives. Just as in the 2017 study by Johnson and others found that positive at-home cancer test results led to prolonged colonoscopy procedures due to heightened vigilance from doctors. When using AI for healthcare diagnostics, AI predictions should be treated as warnings that require careful clinical investigation to confirm or rule out disease. Conversely, if AI suggests that a patient is healthy, clinicians should still follow standard care procedures so false confidence does not cause real problems to be missed. Healthcare education must adapt quickly to prepare both future and current professionals to think critically about AI. Without this adaptation, there is a risk of allowing misconceptions to take hold. Some might begin to believe that fluent chatbot responses equate to genuine diagnostic competence, even though real patients do not present as tidy multiple-choice questions. Recognizing this distinction is vital for tomorrow's doctors and for clinicians already practicing today. At this crossroads, the goal is not simply to teach healthcare professionals how to use AI, but to empower both current and future clinicians to question it, evaluate it, and apply it responsibly. Know and teach the difference between chatbots and task-specific AI and how they reach conclusions. Chatbots can support routine tasks, but they are not replacements for complex clinical judgment. Even with task-specific AI, do not be impressed by accuracy numbers alone. Demand to see the proof of healthy learning dynamics. Healthcare professionals must actively evaluate these systems and work closely with developers to ensure responsible use, especially where patient safety and accountability are at stake. I have published 2 textbooks on this topic, focusing on how to evaluate clinical AI systems from training dynamics to economic analysis, why learning dynamics matter more than final aggregate metrics, and why class imbalance in medical datasets requires specialized treatment. In healthcare, where human welfare is at stake, this understanding is vital. We are entering a new era, and every healthcare education institution needs to adapt and teach these principles. Thank you for listening. I'm Dr. Toma, Associate Professor of Algorithmic Medicine at the College of Osteopathic Medicine and New York Institute of Technology. If there's one message I hope stays with you, it is this. The future of healthcare will include AI, but the future of safe healthcare depends on how well we teach people to understand it.